stocks and commodities and real estate. I just don't understand for 20 years the fundamental knowledge, the market knowledge was just going. It should have been for gold, even in those 20 years. Even if gold did go up in the 1970s, it should have gone up in the 80s and 90s. You know, just with all these papers just being printed, the fiat currency. I just don't understand the economics behind it, you know. So.
All right, John, I paused. I couldn't hear what you were saying. I lost most of your question, but let me see if I could take the next call. Can I take Brad from California? Brad, are you there? Hi, I don't know. I was having some audio problems. Were you able to hear me?
This is Brad. Yes, I could hear you fine.
All right, go ahead, Brad.
I'm a client, and I appreciate your unique advice. Hey, I would like to understand how much inflation will come from the printing of this stimulus money. So the real question here is, what was the U.S.'s money supply before the stimulus, and after these proposed trillions of dollars are printed? What percentage is that? Is it 1% or 50% or 500%?
No, it's hundreds of percentages. If you look at the charts of money supply, they've basically gone straight up now. It's just gone vertical. And the entire stimulus is inflation. That's what people have to understand. The stimulus is being paid for 100% by printing money.
But how much money? I mean, we know that.
Trillions.
Let's say it's $3 trillion.
I don't know how many trillions it's going to be. It's going to be multiples of trillions. But by definition, that is the inflation. They are inflating to stimulate the economy. It is inflation that they help will stimulate the economy. They don't understand that it doesn't work, that just making prices go up isn't a stimulus. It looks like a stimulus because if they measure economic activity based on how much we spend, and if everything just becomes more expensive and we can all spend more money, then they can say the economy is improving. But right. It doesn't. We're not going to be buying anymore. We're going to be spending more, but we're going to be buying less because everything we buy is going to cost a lot more. So the government will be able to convince us, look at the GDP is growing as we're all getting poor. I mean, that's how come the government can now, they look at our high GNP and they forget the fact that we now have 2 people working instead of 1. We have no savings. We have smaller families. We're in debt up to our eyeballs, yet we have a higher GNP. We have a lower standard of living despite the high GNP.
But if I don't know what the numbers are. If there was $1 trillion of money supply before the stimulus, then you added $1 trillion of stimulus, then you know that you have twice as much money, and you could probably guess that your inflation goes up double.
I don't know. It's hard to know exactly what money supply was and exactly how much it's going to go, but I think they're going to debase the value of the dollar by 70, 80, 90% at least, which means prices are going to triple, quadruple, quintuple over, I think, a relatively
I think I lost you.
Euro Pacific Capital is an independent brokerage firm on a mission to inform its client base and prospective clients about economic and market events that could affect their financial security.
Apologize. I don't even remember the question I was answering. Let me go to Scott in Missouri. Scott, are you there? Is Scott there? Yeah, go ahead. You're on the line.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Hey, you started off the conversation talking about the Tea Parties today, and just to soothe your concerns, the majority of what's being talked about at these parties, it's not taxes. That's a small part. It is the spending. It is the bailouts. So I think the people at these rallies have their thumb on the problem, and hopefully Washington gets a message. I don't think they will, but at least the people get the message. Secondly, for somebody like myself, I've talked to a couple of your brokers. I really don't have enough, I don't think, to come on board here at Pacific Capital. I'm below $15,000 that I can invest, and that in the terms of buying foreign stocks, you guys have to buy in such large quantities that it really leaves me vulnerable to the volatility of 1 or 2 stocks at a time. So what is somebody like me able to do in the current market to help protect or hedge against any problems down the road?
Yeah, when you only have $15,000 to invest, it's difficult to build a diversified portfolio of foreign stocks. You might be able to pick up, one fund. I would look at maybe just buying precious metals. I mean, maybe putting $10,000 into in physical gold or silver. You can do that through the Perth Mint, And if that's what you have, maybe using some of the other cash just to stock up on things. People make
correct.
It's not a bad investment to go look at the food items that you buy. Some of the other things that you buy routinely that are going to get a lot more expensive in the next few years, and it's a pretty good return on your investment if you can buy those things now, rather than paying 20, 30, 40, 50% more for them in a couple of years. And especially if we end up getting price controls, which I think could be coming in this administration, it's not simply going to be that items are more expensive. You're just not going to be able to get them. They're not going to be in the stores. And,
I've already had my wife buying multiple pairs of shoes for our 3 little boys at a time, when they go on clearance for the winter or whatever. Buying extra clothes ahead of time. I've been doing that.
Yeah, and I know it's interesting. One of the other forecasts I made, I think even in the little book, was we were going to see a lot more people, making clothes and sewing clothes. And I saw a report on a website that's now very popular. And I think they get 1 million or how many views, and they're teaching people how to sew.
And people are doing their own farming. Yeah, a lot of people doing their own farming now. One thing I said that you like feedback on your show every now and then. I did call one of the brokers and complained about the person who edits your show here, because there was a lady 3 weeks ago who called and she gave her starting amount of her account and then the ending value. She was down about 70%. Well,
I know. I did take that out because she wasn't. She ended up down. She was actually down less than 50% when I called that woman and I actually spoke to her on the phone.
That's what I told her. So you did the right thing. It just seemed like when they put it back online, it seemed edited and that doesn't seem like the right way to go about it.
The thing is,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
The thing is, the woman was mistaken, and so rather than creating fodder for somebody to go up on YouTube,
well, that's a good explanation,
and what they do is somebody would take that 10-minute conversation
and
run with it, and not realize that she was reading something wrong. And of course, my guess is that based on what's happened in the last month, that now that person is probably down. Yeah, she'd probably down maybe 35%. I don't know. Things have really changed, but people would jump on it, and that's what happened.
Good point.
But anyway,
I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for the call. Next up was Tristan from Canada.
Hi. I was wondering, one of the first explanations that was given for the bank bailouts was that American businesses need to borrow, and so what's lost on me is why, instead of pumping hundreds of billions of dollars into the current banking system, the president wouldn't simply start building a new banking system and let the old entities shrivel and die, so to speak.
Well, they don't want to. I mean, that's the whole thing. Barack Obama talks about the need to build a new foundation, a solid foundation, but he refuses to allow the phony foundation to give way. He's trying to prop it up. Well, how can we build a new foundation and try to maintain the old foundation simultaneously? It's impossible. But, of course, you see, he doesn't want to admit to the American public that things have to get worse before they can get better. He doesn't want to have to deliver that bad news. And, of course, he has his own agenda. He has an agenda of big government. Inherently, he doesn't trust the free market. He doesn't trust entrepreneurs. If you look at his speeches on his tax cuts, right, what does he say? He wants to cut taxes on the working people who deserve it, the working people who earn their money. I mean, that's pure socialism. The workers, right, the people who are, the employees, they earn their money. They deserve their money. But somehow their bosses don't. Like somehow my employees earn their money, but I didn't earn any of mine. I don't deserve a tax cut. My employees deserve tax cuts. I don't. And that's a bureaucrat. That's how a politician thinks. They don't understand